everyone, I'm Lewis from Sunway International Business Society. We have a very special guest with us today, Miss Harsha Ravindran. Harsha is a 19 years old Malaysian teenage entrepreneur currently pursuing her bachelor's degree in applied science and arts at the University of Pennsylvania. She has also founded her own company, StartMyName.com, that has garnered over 400 clients in 4 continents, and co-founded Ascendance, a social enterprise and youth movement to foster social entrepreneurship among youngsters. Besides, Harsha is an international conference speaker and has presented on platforms like TEDx. In 2019, she was the recipient of the Diana Award for Young Changemakers. Harsha, it is our honor to have you with us today. First of all, who and what inspired you to venture into entrepreneurship at such a young age?
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for having me on your virtual platform. It's so lovely to talk to you and to all of our audience. Hello to all of you as well. So my journey into entrepreneurship was actually inspired by, number one, my mother, and also the many entrepreneurs that I met as a kid. So when I was about 11 years old, my mother wanted to be a social entrepreneur, and she actually stepped out of her corporate job, even though she was a single mother who had to take care of family and all, and pursued entrepreneurship. And she went from one event to another to find out how she could become a social entrepreneur, until finally she stumbled across this platform called ET Ideas, a social business incubator here in Malaysia. And I used to go along with her because, no one to babysit at home. But when I was there, I think I just completely had my mind blown, because for the first time, you can imagine an 11-year-old kid getting to meet entrepreneurs, some of them who ran million-dollar businesses and financial freedom, and all of them who were doing what they love doing, at the same time giving back to the community. And I think seeing that at a young age made me very curious. How does this all happen? So the first inspiration was my mother, who actually showed me by example what it meant to be an entrepreneur. And the second inspiration would be the people that I met who were able to, number one, pursue their passion, do what they love doing, be very successful at it, and finally also give back to those around them. And I was trying to figure out how all of this was possible. So I ended up having lots of conversations with the founder of this business incubator, Ivan Tiago, who used to give these talks every week. And I remember asking him, why did you start all of this? Why have this platform, and why did you actually want to have this place for anyone to be able to come in and start their own social enterprise? And he shared that when he was about 14 years old, starting out his career in entrepreneurship, he was a 14-year-old kid in the 80s who had learned software programming and coding, which I heard was much, much harder back then when you didn't have the internet and all of the stuff that we have now. And he was sharing that how in those days, he was one of those first few young entrepreneurs in Malaysia, and he did so many amazing jobs, including some for the Ministry of Labour. He got lots of clients, and he was even featured in the news. There was an article written out about him, about this kid who was able to do this software programming. But when that article came out, others who found out that he was a student and all of that started having doubts, can he really take the job? He's a kid and all of that. So because of that, he actually lost out on a lot of opportunities and a lot of jobs that were given to bigger companies, foreign companies, even though he would be able to do it faster and more affordably for the local clients. So when he saw that as a kid, I think it was really sunk into him. And as he grew up, he of course became a millionaire by the age of 23, had many successful businesses in all kinds of fields, even had workshops and programs to help people understand themselves better. But I think when he was looking back at how he can give back to the community, he thought that since he was good at building businesses, he wanted to create a platform so that nobody would have to go through what he went through, and that anyone who wanted to become an entrepreneur would have the resources and opportunities. So I think when I heard that story, it really inspired me, number one, to become an entrepreneur myself, but also to become one of the founders of Ascendance, which is today a platform for youngsters to get the resources, opportunities, and guidance that they need to actually start their own entrepreneurship careers, whether it's figuring out what you love doing and going out and exploring many things, or working on your own skills to be able to sharpen what you do best.
All right, thanks for sharing. So, moving on, could you please tell us more about your projects? What is StartMyName.com and also the Ascendance all about?
All right. So StartMyName.com is a startup that does fast, simple websites for individuals, small businesses, and even families. So for something like 188 ringgit a year, we actually are able to do a fast, simple, single-page website for anyone and everyone. So many of our students are small business owners here in Malaysia, or they are overseas clients from places like the UK, the US, countries in Africa, in Asia, and so on. And also, I think the StartMyName.com was founded with the idea that we want to make going online affordable and accessible for anyone and everyone, so that anyone can have a website. So like even myself, I had like actually Harsha.com because Harsha.com wasn't available. And we want like even students, if you want your Instagram bio to have your own domain name, we want to make that possible. Families, if you want to blog about your kids, if you want to talk about like your family history and all of that, we want you to be able to have a website. And that was the model of StartMyName.com when we started, or the inspiration behind it. And today StartMyName.com has a range of packages for all types of website projects that are template based and easy to set up for our clients. And we've been fortunate to have over 400 clients in 4 continents, as you mentioned. The other thing that I do is Ascendance. Ascendance is an international youth movement that is run by students aged 8 to 25 years old. So it's run by students itself in a way. And currently I'm the acting CEO of Ascendance, as well as one of their co-founders. And Ascendance, basically what we do is we work with students in 3 phases to help them, number one, discover more about themselves. So learn about the way they think, how they operate in a sense, what are their strengths, what are the things they're good at, through games, activities, practicals, and also expose them to the world around them. How do people in different industries work, different countries work, and give them that information and knowledge and experience. From there, we work with students to create experiential learning sessions for them so that students can go out there and try things for themselves. If they're interested in video production or being a YouTuber, we work with media companies to give them high-end green screens and cameras and all of those editing software so that they can actually run a project for thousands of people, or give them a project, do a short film all by themselves in a way. And we give them the access to the resources and the expertise to actually run these ideas as the leaders themselves. And we don't just do this in one industry, we do this from everything from investment, tech, IT, F&B, retail, to even things like stand-up comedy, virtual reality, so that they get a taste of different things. And finally, once they've discovered what is the thing that they are passionate about, they've built their skills to a certain level through all of these projects, we work with them on developing their own ideas into a social project, a social startup, and so on. So to date, we've worked with about 15,000 over students in 900 communities, as well as in 7 countries.
Wow, that's amazing. Very inspiring. So regarding about the Start My Name, with the evolution of digital platforms over the last decade, building websites has become more convenient than ever. Technical skills do not seem to be a prerequisite anymore, as a website builder like Wix and Squarespace provide website templates and artificial intelligence customization. In this regard, how is Start My Name different from these international competitors such as Wix and Squarespace? What is the company's unique selling point?
Yep. I think I'm very, very grateful actually for this increase in a lot of platforms, because personally, the way I look at it, having your own slice of the internet, like soon having your own website is going to be as common as having your own name card. So if you don't have a name card, then you can't do business in the physical world. So same thing, if you don't have a website, in time to come, I foresee it'll be hard for you to be able to share about yourself in the virtual world. So like on that note, I think Start My Name differs because of, I think, number one, the niche that we operate in. So yes, a lot of these companies make it very, very easy for anyone to build a website, and I admire that. Even Start My Name, we provide a lot of template-based options to make this process as simple as possible, and we focus on providing fast and simple services. But I think what makes us a little bit different is the clients we work with and the market that we target in a sense. So many of these platforms are available for people who already know they want to get a website. And they're looking at how do I actually, like, what's the best platform for me? What's the fastest way? Or what do I need to do in a sense? But Start My Name clients, I feel we look at a different segment of people. Like, yes, there's a large segment of people who are wanting to get a website, and all of these people compete for them. But on the other side, there's a huge market of people who don't even know that they need a website. And I think that is where we fit in. So a lot of our clients, as I mentioned earlier, they are housewives who run a side business in a sense, or their students, or their families getting websites for their kids. And a lot of what we do is creating awareness that you can have a website no matter who you are. Even as an individual, you can have one for your own personal brand. So a lot of our clients are people who don't even think about like what a website is, or they don't even, for many of them, they don't even know what a website is in a sense actually. So we do a lot of creating awareness among communities of people who are not so tech savvy, who don't really know how to actually operate the online world in a sense. So we have a lot of Gen X clients, many Gen Y clients as well, who don't really know how to build things even with the website builder and all, not at any fault of their own, but because they are actually either busy running their business or have very busy lives, that learning these skills would take too much of their time in a way. So we make it accessible for them by doing the building for them. So they just need to pick the template. We give them easy formats for them to submit the information that they need on their site, and we do the building, the creating for them. We have lots of conversations with them to make sure that we get their vision out there, and our team is on standby to be able to communicate with them to actually translate what they need into the online world. So what makes us different in a sense is we focus a lot on our niche. And I feel like in an industry like the tech industry, there is so much opportunity, but there is also a lot of competition in a sense. So a lot of people can do websites. So what differentiates us is who are our clients and who is important in a sense. And it was by working with this particular niche alone that we managed to grow so fast, from word of mouth, from people telling each other things. And that is actually what has set us apart so far, that kind of like that additional service that we provide.
Yeah, I'm sure with all those services that you guys provide, it definitely make you guys way better than other websites like Wix or even Squarespace. So regarding, moving on, we'll be talking about the Ascendance 1 million teens hashtag. So on the Ascendance recent initiative is to foster 1 million teens to develop an entrepreneurial mindset. With regards to this, what are the core strategies that you have been taken by the organization so far to accomplish this initiative? And was it affected by the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yep. I think everything all around the world was affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, but I think it has helped us in a way to change the way that we think and approach things, as well as open up our scope of what's possible. So the core strategies that we take towards kind of like shaping up this 1 million teens initiative is, number one, creating awareness. So it goes back a lot to those 3 phases that I mentioned earlier. But if you look at the 1 million teens initiative by itself, the first phase of the 1 million teens is to inspire and engage 1 million teenagers to be able to have the resources and opportunities to focus, set, and achieve the goals that they are passionate about. So a lot of what we do is helping students become aware, number one, of their potential and the opportunities that's available for them. So for example, we have lots of conferences. So every year we have almost 2 conferences, a national and an international conference, where students can actually engage and meet like-minded youngsters from across the world and get their minds blown a little bit about like how other youngsters around the world are doing things. So like, for example, in September, we're having a conference with 50,000 students all across the world. And the whole conference is organized and run by students aged 8 to 25. And the speakers themselves are young entrepreneurs, multiple award winners who are, again, under the age of 25, as young as 10 years old, from from 10 different countries. So like 10-year-olds from Tanzania who run financial literacy startups, or 15-year-olds in the US who work with legislators to improve climate-related and environment-related policies, or even like 20-year-olds in places like Bangladesh that work with their network of governments and organizations there to improve water sanitation. So when we hear all of these inspiring stories, it helps that first 1 million teens open up their minds. We also provide for many of them a platform called the teenageentrepreneur.com, which has 50 over live events, workshops, programs for them to actually engage in and be able to build their skills, build the things that they do. And this is the touch point for many of the students that we work with. So after 50 live events and programs, including like sessions with some world champions like Dato Nicole and David, where we have like our backstage spotlight sessions, or even people like Jen Hao Tan coming in and sharing their experiences of being like one of Southeast Asia's greatest YouTubers. Number one, they discover what they love doing. And the workshops that we have facilitate them in building skills like coding, managing social media, all of the things that they need to actually start achieving those goals that they've set. From there, we develop the next 10% 10% of them, we open it up for the students to develop 100,000 community leaders. So students who are goal-oriented, not just to solve their own issues, but to actually be able to solve the issues of their community, to lead their schools, their districts, and so on. And it is very lovely to see. We call these students our Ascendance apprentice, because these students are actually students who, again, 8 to 25 from different parts of Malaysia, who actually work with Ascendance very closely to not only build themselves, but figure out how they can use their skills to give back to those around them. So these students often, again, from Perak, Kelantan, Pahang, everywhere you name it, what we do with them is we help them not only achieve their own goals, but we also help them see how they can become more solution-based driven. How do they manage crises? And we do this through project-based learning, where they actually have hands-on work on different things. From there, again, we have another 10%, so we develop 10,000 teenage entrepreneurs. This is often through things like our Youth Leadership Accelerator or Sewa web series, where we actually help students develop their ideas for the next Facebook, Amazon, Google. And we already have some 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds who have their own startups in a sense. And finally, that last 10% of students that we work with are students who are game changers. So students who are going out there and solving world problems, coming up with ideas of how do you actually improve reduce income inequality, improve for the supply of food, or even things like find out new energy sources, think about ideas for space travel. And we are in talks to actually get the labs and facilities for them to actually start applying the ideas that they have and turning that into a reality. So those are the 4 phases that kind of break down our 1 Million Teens initiative and the programs that we have in place to actually support all of those things going forward. And of course,
wow, that's so interesting. Now I wanted to join.
Thank you. And of course, it's all gone virtual because of the pandemic. So previously, we were only very based in Selangor and the Klang Valley and the nearby states. But because of the pandemic, we kind of were forced to bring all of this online and get better. And today, now we work with different countries all around the world to actually enable students anywhere to be part of it. And especially in Malaysia, we can now reach out to a lot of the students we work with are in Sabah and Sarawak as well.
Indeed. So may I know how effective were the implementation of these strategies?
I think it's been pretty effective simply because when we started in 2015, so Ascendance was formed in 2015, when I was 13 and the oldest back then was 19. And what actually happened is we started off as students. So we started off as students literally in wherever we knew, in schools, tuition centers, homeschooling centers. And it was literally from just Googling up and calling them up and saying, hi, this program, can we do it here? And as we started working on these programs and actually running them, we started seeing the results from the students speak for themselves. So some students who were failing all of their subjects started getting straight A's and B's. Some students who didn't know what they'd love doing started getting a clearer passion goal that they had in mind, started shaping up what they wanted to do clearer. And a lot of them became very much more confident, responsive, engaged, and some of them even came out and started their own social projects, their own social enterprises. So it was those initial successes that eventually started getting the attention of other tuition centers, other places in the area, until even someone started saying, maybe you should work with the Malaysian Ministry of Education. So from there, the Malaysian Education Ministry picked us up. They did, of course, their research, their information check and all of that. And this allowed us to pilot these projects in government schools around Selangor. From there, again, us having seen the students that we work with, we saw those same results replicate tenfold in a sense. So in a class, if we had 36 students who were all failing their subjects, by the end of the year, we saw 30 of them start to pass. We saw students, again, many of them come up with social enterprises, social movements, represent their schools, represent their communities, and that continued to grow up until 2019 when we actually received the Diana Award for Social Action and Humanitarian Work. During the shift online, in a sense, as we started kind of discovering this, everyone started discovering the virtues of the online world by choice or by force. We had to, in a sense. But as we started doing that, in a way, one of the most fascinating things is we started seeing the impact become even better, because yes, we cannot meet physically anymore, and that is very tragic for many of the students we used to meet. But it's at the same time, it's we are literally in everyone's pockets of the students we work with. So it's easier for us to communicate with them. They can just pick up their phone, schedule a meeting, and we'll be able to communicate with them. And we've all gotten more comfortable with that. So again, from there, we've actually developed over 50 young change makers and 50 young community leaders all across Malaysia from this program itself. And you can see by just the numbers itself, from starting with maybe 100 students during our first conference in August 2019, 140 students. This September, we're planning for 50,000. So that itself, I guess, would show you a little bit of how effective it's been.
That's a really big achievement. All right, moving on to personal questions. Throughout your teenage years, you have been working on establishing an empire of your own through social entrepreneurship. Could you tell us about the biggest challenge you faced as a young individual, and how did you overcome it? Were people in your surrounding doubtful of your capabilities due to your age?
Empire, I wouldn't use the word empire, but but I feel like part of the movement and the platform that initially started with me was Ascendance. I founded Ascendance with three friends at age 13, when I was 13 in 2015, as I mentioned. And one of the things is, yes, there is a number of people who they see something new, they see young people running, especially as young as me, and they do have their doubts. So there was a pool of people who doubted us because we were young. Even when I started StartMyName at age 17, they would avoid giving us projects because of my young age. But there's also a huge pool of people who are much more receptive to supporting the young and much more inclined to support us because they wanted to do something to support the youth of today. But more than my age itself, I feel like what really made or break a decision was the results, the successes that we had. So when we started out, we didn't have much successes. We didn't have much results because we were just beginning. Nobody does when they start out. But I feel like many times now, people, when they don't see any kind of like proof of concept, it's hard for them to believe things. And you can't really blame them because there's so many different things to think about nowadays, so many different ideas and options to solve problems that if there's no proof of the pudding, they say it's hard for people to buy into the idea. So in the beginning, trying to convince people that what we did worked was a bit tricky. That was a big challenge, and because we are young, it's a little bit more like people have never heard of youngsters really succeeding and all of that. It's still like something you hear one in a million. But what actually happened is, as we continued working on Ascendance, as we continued growing in a sense, the results started to speak for themselves. So the results of the students started to speak for themselves. The increase in the events they were doing, the increase in the impact we were having started to become more apparent. And naturally after that, as we changed and the organization grew, more people were willing to support. And the huge part of what Ascendance does today is normalizing the idea that youngsters can be successful. So it shouldn't be like, oh my God, you heard about this young girl, she did really well and all that. No, we should have many young entrepreneurs. And as we slowly see that shift in mindset that Ascendance has been creating, now more and more people are receptive, not just to us, but also to other young entrepreneurs that we've come in contact with. So again, that is another one of the visions of Ascendance, to make it normal for any kid to be able to run their social enterprise, to live their dreams, no matter how old they are. And I've seen that, yes, it was a hurdle in the beginning, but now we are slowly overcoming that and shaping it up for others in a way.
Wow, the story is really inspiring. So recently, your book, The Making of a Teenage Entrepreneur, was launched. What was the motivation behind writing this book, and how do you think this book could help? It could be an asset to the youth.
I hope it helps. But anyway, for me, in a sense, I wrote the book because it is my experiences as a teenage entrepreneur. A little bit of a backstory. I actually wrote it almost like a little bit over a year ago in last year, July. And it was around that time which StartMyName.com, my startup, saw a spike in clients, which is a good thing. It's an amazing thing to happen to you. It's just that nobody told me at that point, nobody realizes that you cannot run your business the same way when you have 20 clients compared to when you have 200 clients. So suddenly my team and I were overwhelmed with work. So we were on our laptops and our phones and our emails day in, day out, hour after hour. I think I was probably sleeping only 3 or 4 hours a day in a sense. And on top of that, I had classes. So I go to the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League school in the United States. Again, very nice, but you have to do the level of work of an Ivy League class. So you have assignments and projects and things you have to do. And I'm running Ascendance at the same time. So there was just so many things to do that I tried. And July was my birthday month, my 18th birthday actually. So I tried to take a week off to go on holiday and chill and relax. But that didn't end up happening because I ended up having calls and Zoom meetings in the car, in the hotel, at home, wherever I went in a sense. Until what happened is I was in holiday, I was in the hotel, I was making these calls and all. And one of the clients that 3 days ago had previously said, great job, it's amazing, it's exactly what we wanted, called me back 3 days during my birthday and scolded me for something that actually was not really my fault, but they just scolded me for a few minutes. So I said, okay, all right, I sorted the problem out, thank you, and all, and I put the phone down. But at that point of time, with all of this stress, I really couldn't stand it. And I just started crying and crying and crying. And I remember I called up my mentor and I told him something like, if you told me this would be how an entrepreneur's life would be, I would have said no. Like, no, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. And he said, calm down, breathe, relax. If this is happening to you, if nature's letting this happen to you, there's something for you to learn from this. And after that, I was like, okay, fine, take it back. I like being an entrepreneur. So I breathed, I relaxed for a while. But I was still very upset in a way. And I was still very stressed out. So he said, calm down. Maybe you want to do something about it. Maybe you want to talk to someone or write a song, or maybe you write a blog about your experience. So as you write it down, you'll be able to see the lesson more clearly. So I started writing. I wrote about that particular incident, and it was true. I was able to see the lesson better. And I just started saying, I have another experience that happened the other day. So I started writing it down. And I wrote and wrote and wrote. And then the next thing I knew, 1 week had passed and I had written enough for a book. And we call that book The Makings of a Teenage Entrepreneur, because it captured my journey, my actual entrepreneurship journey since that 11-year-old girl who walked into that social business incubator, and how it shaped up to who I was. So that's 7 years of experience in that book, in a sense. And the idea of this book would be to tell the good, the bad, the truth, everything, in a sense, that an entrepreneur would be facing. So it's not just telling you how I stayed positive and all of that. It's telling you also the times which I cry and I have to figure out a solution and I have to talk to people. And it captures that aspect and the good things, how I capitalized on the good things, how I grew the business and all of that. So the idea is for to be a guidebook for anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur, to pick up the lessons that I had learned along the way so that they can hopefully learn it a lot faster.
Yeah, I believe it does help people who, like your students or even your participants for the Ascendance, because I think it's sold out. It is sold 150. It sold 400 books within 1.5 months, is it?
Yes, a little bit over that, yes.
Yeah. All right, cool. So moving on to the next question. You have spoken at 3 TEDx events and several other international conferences. You also received the Diana Award in 2019 for the Young Change Maker. So how has this international recognition through your work contributed to your personal and professional growth?
Interesting. I feel like more than the international recognition, like the international recognition is very, very helpful. It introduces us to more people across the world to meet. And of course, like we had so many brilliant opportunities because of the Diana Award and through the TEDx talk. So I'm very, very grateful for it. So just the people that you meet through that is amazing. And also being able to share the story we have with more people, with the masses. So like the Diana Award is very well known. So by just being associated with them, it gives us a lot more credibility. By just having the TEDx talk stage, we were able to give out our story to over thousands, tens of thousands of other people. So it has been very important. But I think more than more than the actual like international recognition, I wouldn't use the word recognition. I would say it's the relationships and the people that you meet through these opportunities that make the world of a difference. Like just going there and talking and having that recognition is not as meaningful as the amazing relationships, people that I've met through these platforms. Like just to give you an example, like when we got the Diana Award, it was amazing because we were able to actually, for the first time, get featured on an international platform and be recognized on the international stage. And as we shared that around, yes, amazing people like Star, a lot of media actually shared about our story out there to more people here. And also it gave, whenever we talk to people, it was a little bit easier to show the impact we've created because we have this recognition in a sense. But more than that, it enabled us to get introduced to other Diana Award winners, to other change makers around the world who actually are creating phenomenal things. And as we started communicating with them, as we started sharing about what we did, learning about what they did, and even bringing them to work with some of the students we worked with through our web series, through our programs, being featured in their platforms in turn, it created this relationship that formed a network of people who really want to build a future. And that was actually the inspiration behind our conference in September, because we had suddenly found ourselves, not just with the Diana Award, but with other international partners we've managed to meet, that we suddenly found ourselves with this network of young Gen Z change makers who are all in their own capacities, in their own countries, around the world, doing brilliant things. And all we could think about is, what would happen if we all came together? Can you imagine how people would feel? And because of that, today we have a conference of 3,000 students in September this year, which is only a couple of weeks away. So that just goes to show that it's the relationship that you build that makes a difference. Like my university as well. The University of Pennsylvania is one of the world's best known universities. I'm so grateful to be there. Just being there is a privilege itself. Like doing my homework is a privilege for me for once. I know, bear with me. But like more than that, it's the people that I meet there. The professors, the friends, the alumni, even like the faculty or the staff there, each of them are so inspiring and have their own story to tell. And it's because I connect with them and I keep looking at what can I do, what can I help out with, that I get involved in different projects. So I started sharing about what Ascendance does, hearing about the things that they were interested in. And because of that, we actually managed to form an Ascendance chapter and club at the University of Pennsylvania, one of the world's best universities, called the Ascendance Social Enterprise Link Club. And it was a club that came from my conversations with the people that bring the work that we do and adapt it for students there. I even started being part of their radio club in a sense, and I started DJing. And today I actually have an international web series on their radio channel called Changing Reality that features top executives like directors in companies like Disney or Amazon or Facebook, who actually come in and share their experiences, not just with students there, but with students here in Malaysia as well. So the beauty of it is, it's not the recognition itself. It is what can you work with this recognition to build relationships, to build your opportunities in a sense to achieve the goal that you have. And I think that that's the beauty of going international and what this recognition actually gives you.
Wow, now I'm very looking forward to join your conference in September. All right, so now we are moving to the last question. If you had to give one piece of advice to social entrepreneurs from the current generation, irrespective of their age, what would it be?
Irrespective of their age, I would say find a mentor. Because simply for me, there's so many things that I know, but there's so many more things that I just don't. And I think that what actually helps me navigate things that are far beyond my capability is having the right guidance and mentor. And mentors doesn't just mean someone who is good at like what they do, or it's not just someone who is who attended a talk at a conference and is certified to be a trainer. Look for those mentors who have really achieved success, who have achieved the things that they are passionate about, gone through life and actually have done so many things, not just for themselves, for the community as well, and who believe in you more than anything, more than any idea. You must really find the people who believe in you. And I'm very fortunate that I have a mentor, and actually many other mentors who have gone through these things. Like I mentioned earlier, my mentor is founder of this business incubator platform, TEDx. I have a mentor who has years of experience in different fields, achieved success in all of that. And at the same time, he's still kind of like, he believes in the young and believes specifically in my team and I. And because of that, we've managed to grow, because we are not smart enough to navigate everything. But because we have many mentors like that, we are able to cover different bases and grow to where we are today. And just like that, my advice for anyone out there is, there will never be a time when you know everything. I hope not. But so find the people who have really done well and believe in you, and listen to what they say, follow their lead in a sense, and you'll go to great heights.
Wow, thank you for the advice. So this marked the end of our presentation. Thank you for taking your time to share with us your journey and we hope to see you on board again in the future.